The Black Volga is the story of Black Soviet-era limousine that used to drive streets of Poland late into the night and early morning. It would appear out of nowhere and disappear just the same, abducting young children and teens. As the stories go, people described many occasions when Black Volga pulled over and asked strangers for directions. When stranger approached the vehicle to answer, the passengers grabbed them and drove away. Nobody actually knew who drove the car, but there were theories that it was driven by nuns, Jews, Satanists, or even vampires. Some say that the abductors took all of their blood to sell it to rich Germans who suffered from leukemia. Others say that the victims, especially girls, got sexually abused, sold, or murdered. As is just a myth, we don't know how many facts were true, but there's a few stories where the Black Volga got involved. For example, the missing children of Kielce. In June 1956, 3 children were missing in Kielce. Several people who claimed to have seen the children shortly before they vanished said they saw them driving away in a vehicle similar to Black Volga. Those children were never found. In January 1957, Bohdan Piasecki, the 15-year-old son of nationalist politician Boleslav Piasecki, was approached in Warsaw while walking home from school. He was approached by a tall man carrying a briefcase. The man showed the boy a piece of paper, then the boy followed him to a nearby taxi stand. The man, the boy, and another man who met them at the taxi stand got into a black cab and drove off. In December of 1958, Bohdan's remains were discovered in a boarded-up room in the basement of a recently built building. His murder was never solved. In April of 1965, Helena Hensel opened the door of her Warsaw home to 2 women who claimed to be related to her husband. She let them in. Then, when she had to leave for work a few hours later, she asked the women if they would watch her daughter, 3-year-old Liliana. When Hensel returned home after work, the women and her daughter were gone. Witnesses reported seeing the women and the little girl climbing into a Black Volga at 1 p.m. that afternoon. This time, thankfully, the women were identified and the little girl recovered. The 2 women were sisters, and one actually wanted to keep the baby because she was a healthy child and her own child was blind. The tale was reinvented at the end of century as a story of black BMW with dark windows and the devil himself behind the wheel. In this version, however, the victims were not kidnapped but simply asked what time it was. Although the question itself is not even remotely scary, after answering it, the person would hear a morbid sentence. Tomorrow at this time, you will be dead. And supposedly, people were indeed dying, most of them by suicide or heart attack. According to one particular report, in the October of 1999, 2 teenage girls were coming back home from a party. Suddenly, a car pulled over next to them and a man came out. He walked towards one of those girls and whispered something into her ear. After that, he just left. Nevertheless, the next day, the girl to whom he spoke died by hanging herself. In this variation of the tale, no question or answer were required for the girl to die. Yet another version mentioned a possibility of escaping the death if you answered Godzina Wieczna, which in English means eternal hour.